Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. My name is PJ and today I'll guide you around the Hungaroring in F1 2020. I'll be going through each corner in detail, giving you a few tips that you can use ahead of your next race. If you want to keep getting better at racing games, you can subscribe for more videos, but for now, let's get started. And we're on the run down to turn 1, where my braking point for this is just after the 100 meter board, which you can find there on the left hand side. Now, one thing I find fairly common around the Hungaroring is that you'll be quite tough on your brakes, so you should probably pull your brake bias back to around, I like 55, to bring that all the way back, just so you give the front tires a little bit more freedom to rotate, which is very important. You don't want big lockups around here. It'll hurt your tire wear, it'll hurt your line through corners and all sorts. But you get down from 8th gear, you get down to 2nd gear, brake in a straight line as always, and then bleed off the brakes as soon as you turn. You should be coming through the apex in 2nd gear. That's what I like to do. And then the exit is quite tricky because it's tighter than you think, and you want to get on the throttle fairly early because DRS comes up pretty much on corner exit. So you get down to 2nd gear, and then you immediately, once you pass the apex, upshift to 3rd, get on the throttle, and before you're even got the foot planted to the floor again, you need to upshift again. You should be upshifting again to 4th, and then you get to the DRS line straight away. As you can see, it's really early on the corner exit, and you should be pretty much full throttle by now, coming down into turn 3, and this is where having the brake bias backwards a bit helps a lot. So after the 50 meter board there, you need to brake, come in from the far outside, and you're going to be holding your line through the corner. You're going to be braking and turning here, so you've got to be very careful of your balance with both of those. You don't want to lock up the front wheels, of course. You're going to bring it down from 7th gear, you're going to bring it down to 3rd, and then hold it in. You can also go for a tight apex. This is a kind of corner where you can have multiple lines through it. You can either prioritize the entry and get a good pass in, or you can prioritize the exit and get a good exit speed, which will help you down the straight, which is what I tend to do. So you're downshifting to 3rd, and then as soon as you're getting on the throttle again to get out of it, you want to short shift up to 4th gear, and then you're full throttle all the way through this section here. Get over to the left a little bit and then get to the right and cut this as much as possible. Just put only the one wheel on the tarmac and just go straight over the curb, 4th gear. You'll verge out here to the left just to maintain your speed and your momentum. You're going to be up here for this very tricky left-hander. I like to stay in 7th gear for this. So I stay in 7th gear initially, and then I'll downshift it to 6th or potentially 5th. You need to be very brave on the turn in. Only a short stab of the brakes, turn in, and then see where you're positioned, and then hold on for dear life essentially, because it's a very tricky corner. But you can see I'm not braking for this corner until I pass that marshal point up there, the marshal sign, which is, I would say, roughly about 50 meters away from the corner, something like that. It's uphill as well, so the gravity of the situation is going to help you slow down the car just that little bit extra, so you don't need to brake as much as you think. You just need a short stab of the brakes in order to get in, throw the car in, and that gets you the most speed through the corner. It's the fastest corner on the entire circuit. So you get through here, put one wheel on the curb on the outside to give you extra room, bang it down into 6th or potentially 5th. Use the curb on the inside. Don't go all the way in because you might raise the wheel if you cut the curb on the inside. And then the exit is fairly tricky because the track limits are very tight here, and it's very easy to invalidate your laps, but you do need to use the curb on the exit because you need to maintain all the speed and the momentum from taking that turn at high speed. So you'd essentially be out here, and you got to be very careful with your steering. Get ready to counter steer, but as much as you can, try to keep the throttle pinned down because that's the best way to get through that corner. But it is a very fast, very exciting corner. It's my favourite corner in the entire track. And then you get over to the left-hand side for this long right-hander. You may not be able to get over all the way, but you just need to bring the brakes down a bit, bring it down to about 3rd gear. Be careful on that curb on the inside because that curb is one of those tricky ones where you could potentially lift the rear right wheel off the ground, which then causes you to spin the left one too much and then spin the car. You've seen lots of players spin there, especially in multiplayer lobbies. I see it a lot. It's one that catches people out a lot. So I would avoid that curb if possible. You're probably going to be third gear through this corner, potentially fourth, but either way, you short shift on the exit so that you can get the power down. And then you come up to the chicane. The chicane is obviously fairly tricky too. You brake at the 50-meter board for the chicane. Keep the braking straight. Bring it down to third. Bring it down to third gear. Use the curb on the inside, but don't use the big curb on the inside. You only need to use the little curb, because if you use the big one, you'll throw the car all over the place, which you don't want, and especially on the second part of this curb. So as soon as you've turned in, you turn in the same the other way around. And again, don't use the giant curb. Just use the flat red and white here on the outside. If you cut in too deep, you will get a penalty for cutting the corner, so you want to avoid that as well. And this curve is very jagged as well, but you need to go over it in order to get the best line out of the corner. But depending on how aggressive you are on the throttle on the exit, you should short shift anyway, but the car might get a bit squirrely, so be ready to react with the steering. Be ready to react, to counteract, keep it straight. Use the curb here on the outside, and now we get into a very tricky sequence of corners, which I struggle with sometimes depending on the car. And you'll find this if you're in season 1 of career or season 1 of my team. You'll find Hungary to be really difficult because the chassis of the car isn't going to be very strong. But if you're just in a normal race or you're in a time trial or something like that, you should have enough grip and performance to get around here fairly well. So quick down on the brakes. Don't need to brake for long. You just need to slow the car down a little bit just to get the car turned in. You're going to be in probably 5th gear for this, and then you get straight through, and then you go over to the right and then a little bit to the left, and then you need to turn straight away for this one. And I like to take this one in 3rd gear. You can take it in 4th, but I like to take it in 3rd just to give an extra bit of turn in for the car. And you can see that my line here is on the curb. I'm using the curbs all around this section, and the problem you will find is if you mess up this corner, you're going to be messed up. Your line is going to be compromised for the next 3 corners. So you need to get every corner fairly precise with your line. 3rd gear, coming out, potentially short shifted up to 4th. Again, use 2 wheels on the curb here on the exit. You're just trying to carry as much speed and momentum through the corner as possible. So you don't want to slow down too much. You don't want to sharpen the corners too much. You're just going for a smooth curve through each one. Again, here you're getting faster. This is flat out. This is flat out. You're going to be up 6th. You're going to be in 7th gear, and then you get to here, and then quick stab at the brakes, and then down to 6th gear to get through. If you think you're carrying too much speed in, drop it down to 5th gear. I know some of the esports pros can take this corner at ridiculously fast speed, but for us mere mortals, we need to be a little bit more cautious getting through here. So you're going to be through here in 6th gear. You can use the curb on the inside, and you should use the curb on the outside. Carry as much speed as possible through this turn. As you get down, this curb is fairly flat. You can go over it all day. Straight down. And you come down, you've got a few braking zones left to complete the lap. So for this one, you're braking just after the 100-meter board, so just before the 50. Keep the braking straight, as always. Keep the braking straight, and then after the 50, let off the brakes and turn in. Give the front end a bit more grip. Use the curb on the inside like I did there. It's fairly flat, so you can get away with it. And then you got to do the same here. As soon as you get under the sign, you should brake for this one. And this one you will be taking in 3rd gear. And you don't necessarily need to get all the way into the curb. It would be nice if you can, but it's not absolutely mandatory, because the main thing is you want to roll as much speed through the corner, and sometimes being a little bit more on the outside can give you that speed, because you can always turn in on the exit, which is very handy. You just short shift it up to 4th on the way out. Watch out for any cars on the right hand side entering the pit lane, while you come over here to the left for the final turn. Just a light touch of the brakes, 4th gear, hold it around, hold it around the final turn. Try to get in as close as possible to the inside without hitting the pit wall. I've done that once or twice before. And as you get on the way out, you'll be gradually more throttle as you get through. More throttle, keep it going. By the time you pass the Rolex sign, you should be almost flat out. And if you aren't, short shift it up to 5th gear. And then as you cross under, you'll hit the DRS sign there. And then that is a lap of Hungary. Here we go then, flying lap up the Hungaroring. Very tight, twisty, technical. Bring it down to 3rd, upshift to 4th on the exit. Power down. Bring it down onto 3rd for this one. Upshift to 4th again on the exit. And flat out through here. Now you want to take this one in 6th. Be brave and hold it on. Down to 4th. More power, get it out. Watch out for the big curbs on the inside, they'll knock you loose. You don't have time to breathe through this section. Every corner links into the next. I was a little hesitant on the last one, but it was worth it to keep the car on the track. And same here. Just keep it steady. Short shift if you need to put the power down. And then hug the wall on the exit. And that is a lap of the Hungaroring. Now that you know your way around the Hungaroring, why not try out a couple of other guides on my channel? You can find 2 videos on screen now, and you can subscribe to get more in the future. In the meantime, thanks for watching, liking and subscribing, and I wish you the best of luck in your next race.